Hello there, and welcome to episode 11 of my tutorial series for Songs of SYX, version 62. Today we're going to have a great thing ahead of us. We're going to introduce our people with a proper crypt. So crypts are the total craze in the world of Songs of SYX, and the whole topic, jokes aside here, is going to be the introduction of those advanced services. Because so far we were really only writing the basics. The stages are... I don't really count them into the advanced services. Well, canteens are somewhat advanced, but everything that has very high tech cost behind it is what I actually mean when I say advanced services. So the first crypt is always a heavy investment because we have to pull up gemstones, cut stone, and a lot of other... and that's a lot of effort alone on its own. We're also not really producing too much of that stone here as of yet, so I want to employ a couple of masons extra because I'm a little bit unhappy with the production rate there. Beyond that, our next goal will be to use the momentum we gain of the new services to expand our science even further, and then unlock ourselves the bathhouses. And then there's only a couple of further steps that we can go for. Arenas are still something that we really need to unlock. Corporal punishment is the prerequisite for that. So we will require a lot of different things still. So, well, accidents happen. Don't hassle me with every one of them happening. So... yeah, all right. We are well on the time here. So wood is again running low, and this is something that I would love to fix right now by just employing more woodcutters. But to me, the woodcutter is one of the things that I like to bench for a very long time because it's well, on a map like this, it's so darned easy to just expand my wood income by just slapping down some commands, and those trees, they are constantly regrowing, so that's even a renewable resource this way. Of course, it's less micromanagement this way, that's why I'm emphasizing it here. So, and here it's the same deal. You see the items are getting carried not that quickly on over there, and we have a severe net negative of workers, so let's bring us some people up over there. I bet that has happened because we had a sudden pull of people here with a new warehouse. So our new warehouse is there. So first off, let's kick out the people there, and we need to empty that. So well, it's a little bit unfortunate. One problem when you copy the settings of one warehouse, that means you copy also the entire box setup. But well, if you don't like this as much as I do, I'm going to show you how you can avoid that in the future, right after I have cleaned up the mess of configurations here. Because that's something you do that once, but you never want to do it again, no? So there's an easy remedy for that. Up over here, we're just going to go here, saved room blueprints. You get that, go on there, you click this, and then the blueprint's saved. And now we can copy paste that warehouse whenever we want to. It did now copy it without any crate allocations, and that's a pretty good thing there. So first off, I want to resolve the canteen situation. I didn't manage to do so in the last episode. I'm really sorry about that. I meant to, but it didn't come together. So what I'm doing here is I'm assigning one chest of each food type. So let's do that for drinks as well. There we go. And I do now set this up as fetch. So fetch chests are tried to be... people that are working in the warehouse will now try to keep that these crates filled permanently. So we're going to go for auto employ now. I just wanted to wait until the number was lower, and yeah. So basically what this now does is quite simple. The people working here will now try to keep these crates full, and as long as these crates are full, the canteen is in the range of one warehouse filled with the goods that it needs. We also have now a warehouse which can store all the goods that get produced here, but I'm not going to go deeper into the configurations of that one at this point. I just wanted to have that. Also, we can now delete the haulers we got there. We put them up in the last episode, and yeah, you can decide for yourself how you want to supply your canteens. Just keep in mind, if you do it via haulers, you have a lot more workload on your shoulders. That's a downside. All right, so while I was busy talking, the people were carrying stuff to the crypt. We have right now 45 odd jobbers at our disposal, so stuff gets done quite quickly. Here we go. And it's just a bit longer until the people are done constructing that thing. And this is so far the most costly building that my city has put up. And I think they just... wow. Alright. So what happened here is actually a little bit of a bug. That piece of wall in here can't be finished because it's enclosed too hard by those statues. So we have to remove one of those statues here. That's amazing. I haven't seen that ever. So that's pretty good actually. So we can apply a hotfix right away. So here we go. I'm just relocating them, and here we go. And now we can't finish that. So what happened here is not as I wanted it, but it doesn't matter. The crypt is finished and somebody's working there. I guess we'll leave these forever. Just keep in mind, a pillar that you want to leave open has to be reached from one side. Lesson learned. But the building is finished out of the way. So what it does now is the need for crypts has been fulfilled. So the Kryptonians are actually not as crazy for crypts as other folks are. They are therefore not gaining that insanely much more fulfillment out of that. If you use this with Dondorians or humans, the result is much higher. But also here, it's a blast for them. You know, the religion meter is filling and filling, and that's just what we needed. So with those new people at hand, we're just going to bring up all the scientists in here because we can't afford it. No problem. And with that new wave of science, we're going to unlock the next goodie there, the bathhouses. So this will take a moment, but as you see there, science is racking up quite nicely. Those 20 people more here churn out quite a substantial amount of science, and all in all, it's good that we let some time pass, because we have a huge bill on our shoulders to order some fresh gems, and we also have to cut a lot of stone before we are able to actually build our first bathhouse, because they're mostly made out of cut stone. And if I remember correctly, some painful amount of furniture was also involved. But we'll see about that once we get there. But while I'm fast forwarding through the time here, you can also see we're racking up lots of citizens here. We're really racking up a lot of people there. The only thing I'm a little bit bothered by is the fact that I have no gemstones right now on my replenishment, but that's okay. Food is seemingly stable as well. Also quite important to check this out. And our masonry is missing stone. So this is something that's really important to note. I was wondering the whole time why my production of cut stone was so horrible. So whenever you see that red alarm sign here on a workshop, they all have that. It's a red flag, literally, to make a change here. So we're going to fix that by pulling some stone into the boxes here, and I make that a fetch chest as well. So we're going to be absolutely sure that there's some stone around the corner here always. The other thing you can do, if that doesn't, if you don't have a warehouse around the corner, it's always haulers. Slap a hauler right next to the workshop, assign him to bring stone to the workshop constantly, and this problem here should succeed as well. But as you see there, it's been really just a logistical problem. Let's see how much more production our workshop will have due to that. So it's going to be quite an interesting figure there. Okay, so science has made its thing. Let's unlock the bathhouses. So these are, for the Kryptonians, much more powerful, and I think this is a pretty cool way of showcasing that there's always a difference between species, you know? By the way, if you're wondering when and or if there's be other species in this town, yes. There will be humans moving into this wonderful little city once we have unlocked the administration feature at 1,000 people, because humans are really good clerks. It's not a joke, they really are good at that job, and we're going to utilize that. So anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Let's set up a bathhouse in front of the crypt. That's a romantic site, isn't it? So we're going to set up the bathhouse, and just as we did with the crypt, I'm going to make that a bit of a smaller building, because also here these things are just costly, you know. The larger they grow, the more costly they go. And luckily the bathhouse is not as costly when you're establishing it as the crypt. The crypt is way more costly. So we got a couple of bath thingies here, and now there we go. So building this thing is a much smaller pain than the crypt, but here we have a different downside. Here we have a steady cost in form of coal. The bathhouse has a constant hunger for coal, and therefore it's much more demanding than the crypt. The crypt is basically much more costly to establish, and has therefore other downsides, whereas the bathhouse needs a lot more upkeep. But that's the difference between these two. So after the first bathhouse has been established, we should see a proper migration pool like the one that I was foreseeing. I totally honestly forgot about the fact that Kryptonians don't give as much about crypts as other species do. So it's really important that you keep these things, that you check these things out and be smarter than me by checking out what your people really want. So for example, arenas are a thing. We could have easily skipped, in this scenario, the crypts entirely and went for arenas instead. Bathhouses and arenas would have been a more efficient build plan for this species, but I'm just outlining this because that's how Songs of SYX just treats you. There's a lot of detail, and every run that I've played so far left me with a feeling like that's something I could have done better. And get used to it. It's a learning curve that's pretty pleasant, and what's keeping me getting back to this game every time again, because really every map you play results in a completely different city. So far, I've built like half a dozen or so cities in this game, and none of them were like the other. Partially because of the map itself, and the other part is just my personal learning process, you know. Here we go. So we have a first bathhouse. Rejoice, people of this pleasant little city. So now you'll see a real nice increase there of people. So hygiene services, as you see, the meter's only slowly filling. And the other thing is we better plan the next of these buildings right away. So we're going to zoom out, and as you see here, the entire city desires a bath. So let's do this. And here, it's up to you if you want to go for several small bathhouses or less larger ones. I think it's a design choice that I'll totally leave open to the city planning. I'm personally a big fan of several smaller bathhouses so I can distribute the services as my people require them, but I think there are several choices to go for that have a pleasant outcome. This game has a lot of different approaches to the same problem. Jeez, can't talk anymore, and that's wonderful. So just bringing out some roads where people will and already do need them, because like we all know, roads are spreading happiness, and we haven't fulfilled the happiness meter here completely, although no, I'm wrong about that. So here's something really important to note again. We have already fulfilled the need of roads of this quality entirely, but I totally forgot about that. If we now put up a stone road somewhere else, let's put up a stone road at one of the main areas of our city, because you should have already guessed, stone roads are of course also speeding up your people, so stone roads are definitely worth the effort. So another thing, we really can use another janitor's workshop on over here. Okay, so that should keep our folks busy for a while. And I kept pulling people into the city, and our food clock stays the same, so our exports are just being mitigated by everything. The only thing that's bothering me is that we obviously don't seem to have the money constantly to import the gems for the upkeep of the crypt. Even though we are selling fish and meat in pretty large numbers. But, well, there's always something to ponder about in this game. Like, for example, right now we're again running low on wood, and if your city is working with charcoaling as a way of gaining your coal, your wood stockpiles are really important. So definitely necessary, by all means, that we increase the amount of woodcutters in our city. So we could now... Oh, whoops, that was the wrong one. Or, well, I cannot copy this guy. What a shame. So we're going to save that room blueprint because I'm not willing to build another one. So we can just paste down another woodcutter here. They are quite low effort and high yield, so we're going to go for that. I don't have to set up endless amounts of woodcutters in there, it's just going to help. So by the way, that road, and as you see there, the need for roads now goes over 50%. That's because the road hasn't had the proper quality yet. Quality matters. So we can hire a ton more people there, and that's what the bathhouses do for our city. It's a pretty big step forward, and that's only one bathhouse so far. So the need for baths isn't nearly fulfilled. And advanced services just do exactly that. Your city can grow extremely much faster when you have them, but at the same time, it is quite the journey to actually get there, to be able to build them, you know. And in this game, it's never enough to be able to build something. You also have to be able to keep it up, and pay the upkeep, and pay the resources, and all the things. So here, our stockpiles of stone and wood are steadily depleting. We're completely low on these materials, and that's not a good thing at all. But, well, right now we have more than enough odd jobbers that can do the job. So, we're going to be able to refill our stockpiles this way, but this is by all means no way to keep going. But right now, during the time while I'm basically just waiting for more services to be set up, it's a great thing to do. And the next thing we'd like to do is to set up another research place, because, well, that's one thing about this game's science system. It's extremely hungry in terms of personnel. And I love that, actually. I really think that's amazing. This game has, for me, one of the coolest science systems in all the city builders that I've played so far. Because, it reflects that science is actual work, and steady work. It's not something you unlock once and then it's good to go. All of that. But on the other hand, we have to constantly bring up more scientists, and that's just a painful thing to do. So here, our charcoaler has to be, let's see, he has to be brought up to new numbers. So here we are consuming a total grand of 1,600 pieces of wood per year right now. So it's pretty clear where our problems are lying right now, especially if this thing here is only yielding 2,400. So we're being extorted one more time, but that's okay. That's okay for the moment. We have pretty much everything in our city's possession that we require, so it really doesn't matter that much. It just spreads a slow pressure of unhappiness, but I personally prefer that over pillaging and ransacking people, destroying my city and killing my people. Thanks. I'm basically okay with that. And like I said, if that pisses you off in any way, you can't just turn up the rates when you when you set up your game entirely. But since we are going to build up a militia at some point to fend off these folks, I kept them on. All right, so here we go. Slowly getting there. Logistics are right now not as good as they could be. We're going to go on over that in a different episode, though. I don't want to optimize my logistical grid today. Alright, so the second bathhouse is being completed, and as you see there, the needs here aren't really fulfilled here at all. There's so much more we can achieve there. And we have another case of homelessness. Always take homelessness serious. It's spreading spreading unhappiness really quickly. Ah, yeah, so the woodcutters have moved in. So, well, as much as I'd love to have that many woodcutters, we're going to add just 10 of them so far. And we all remember that the woodcutter's place was a damn noisy and unpleasant place to live at. So let's check out the noise meter one more time. So the thing is, this industry stays noisy, so we can't do anything against that. But we can bring up homes that aren't that terribly far away from the noisy spots. Here we go. Most amusingly enough, people have no problem at all living right next to the lavatory, which surely doesn't smell too pleasant, but whatever, none of my business. And here we go. Bathhouse number 2 is being finished, and this is a process that does take your city a while to get all the materials together for the setup of these service buildings. And as you see there, I'm plowing through the locally sourced stone in a pretty terrifying pace. So it's going to be only a matter of time until I have to import stone from somewhere else, but that's okay. For now, I can still locally source that stuff, but those times are limited. But I personally love to use the materials that are lying around on the map before I start importing, because it's just that easy to grab them. Alright, so as we see there, we can now open up the service grid one more time. It's there's still so much more need than fulfillment, so we're going to continue our quest for bathhouses. Most interestingly enough, the need for crypts is already fulfilled. We don't need many. We don't need any more of these. While the need for these, as you see here, this is a trend for the entire city. And once we have those three buildings together, we'll be a lot further when it comes down to people's happiness. And then we should be able to get the next laboratory together. And, well, should already guess how it's going. So, oops, wrong button. Right click gets you out there, not escape. Be smarter than me. And we're going to set up another lab already here right away. And this lab here, as you see, has totally different requirements than the other one. It has already furniture, cut stone, and metal. That's because we're copying the higher quality lab right from the get-go. But there's one thing, I'm going to suspend that job. I don't want to have this building site drain my resources, because we have other things that we want to focus on into. First, I want to focus onto the bathhouses. I don't want that the cut stone gets depleted anyway, and I also am running low a little bit on wood. So this is because we also have not the best logistics over here. As you see, the wood is being produced here and is getting processed over here, so there's quite the distance. And, well, maybe it ain't a problem. We can check that, though. If that thing here is constantly blue, the logistics work fine. If there's a red check mark there, at times it's not working fine. But obviously, everything is working fine. That's great. So, there we go. Sadly, our expansion is a little bit slowed down due to the unhappiness in our city right now. But that's something we're going to do something against quite soon. Okay. So our woodcutters are producing 2,500 wood per year here. So let's see if we can up those numbers somehow scientifically. You can always get yourself a slight bonus in production pretty much everywhere at the expense for some research points. This game has a upgrade for pretty much everything. So another point where we could get ourselves some nice happiness bonus before we dive into something more costly, I just realized that, is the hospital. Yeah, let's do that. I keep missing out on the hospital because it's a pretty new building that has been introduced only with version 62. So forgive me for my absent-mindedness there. So the hospital is also a very good building that's considered to be advanced services. So it's very simple though. There's at this point you shouldn't be too surprised about how things are being constructed here. So the only real important thing to note about hospitals is that they require opium to work. So when you put up your first hospital, you will also have a new need for resources there, and also they require tools. So hospitals, though, are really, really powerful in terms of spreading happiness and giving your people a lot more hope. But we're going to suspend that job as well, because we're still suffering from the extortion scheme of the local bandits. Well, things are as they are. But on the bright side, our city is developing quite nicely. We are right now losing happiness because of... exactly. Yeah, well, people are a little bit unhappy because their food preference is swinging back. And it's that time of the year where they... well, obviously, this is an interesting thing. This is a logistical problem. Or people don't have the access to bread and veg as they want to have, so... that means that one of our distribution centers doesn't have enough there. I bet that was because there was not enough vegetables to fulfill both warehouses, so As you see there are a lot of tiny things that can do a lot of motion there. So we're on negative workers again. During the winter season, you can get into negative workers more often. I really have no clue why that's the case. Send help if you know why. Drop me a comment. And that's also pretty much the end of this episode. So the introduction of bathhouses is an amazing step forward to your city. Usually the introduction of crypts as well, but if you are playing Kryptonians, they don't give a damn about them too much. So as you see there are limits to every wonderful procedure. So in the next episode, we're going to stick our nose into the hospitals, and then we're going to step on forward into expanding the city also into with nurseries. So that's the plans that I have in store for the next couple of episodes. So thanks for watching yet again. It's been hopefully a great time for you. It surely was for me. And if there are any other things you might want to ask about, feel free to drop me comments. And also a thumbs up would be deeply appreciated. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. There's daily content coming up there. And also there's a link to the playlist down below. You can check out the entire tutorial series there, and there is also links to supporting this channel down there. There's Patreon, PayPal, and Buy Me a Coffee, and I'd be delighted if you'd give them a look. So thanks for watching yet again. Have a wonderful day, and see you next time.